going to go ahead and start. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Audrey, and I am one of the volunteers for GIC Talk. I'd first like to take a quick moment and remind everybody to please either turn off your cell phones or put them on silent, please. Thank you. We appreciate that very much. And I would now like to officially thank you all for coming. We're really happy you guys all showed up for today's talk that we're really excited about. We're looking forward for the talk today, which is entitled Small Changes for a Big Impact, given by Paul Foskey. Paul is from Melbourne, Australia, and currently works at a private hagwon here in Gwangju. Paul will be discussing the pros and cons of practicing a healthy lifestyle, and more specifically, vegetarianism. Now let's please welcome our speaker with a round of applause.
Hello everyone, thank you for coming today. As Audrey said, my name is Paul Foskey, and I'm from Melbourne, Australia. I work in Unamdong at an academy with my wife, and we've been in Gwangju for about 2 years now. And there you go. And I've lived in a few other countries besides Korea. I've also lived in Vietnam, the Philippines, and the USA, and I'm from Australia. So I've had a bit of an experience with different cultures and that, and it's been really interesting so far. I have some hobbies that I enjoy, are weightlifting, obviously quite contrary to the idea of vegetarianism, I know, but playing drums. I've recently started enjoying cooking and trying my own recipes with some good and bad results. And I also enjoy iPodgraphy, which is a term that my wife came up with when I take my iPod and I take photos of things. But, and I have some goals for the future. I want to make some sort of meaningful contribution to society, do something that really matters. So vegetarianism for me has been one way in which I can sort of transition into doing that. And one of the things that I love to do is just meet new people. So I really just want to make more friends and get to know people and their lifestyles and that. So, there we go. Okay, so this is what we're going to cover today. And I have a few questions for you to start. Alright, not meaning to put you on the spot, but just if you can, raise your hands, alright? How many people have something in their life that they would like to change? Seriously? Something they'd like to change? No? Very happy? Everything? Kenchario? Okay, alright. How many people like their lifestyle? Like enjoy their lifestyle, but wish they could do more? So, okay, great. Alright, so yeah, some of us like we want to do more with our work, some activity we enjoy, maybe our relationships with our friends or whatever, and it's good to know. Okay, how many people want to make a big change in the world? Just some change, maybe, you know, become the world's fastest runner. I mean, you know, some people might have that goal. So it's just very interesting to see. So not so much on that. And how many people feel like they can't make this impact because they're only one person? And usually, as we hear, it takes more than one person to make a significant change. Okay, so not so much on that. Okay, well, just to start, I was one of those people that thought, oh, I really want to make a change, but I don't know how to do it. Like, how am I supposed to make this change? Clearly I have to read a book about this kind of thing or talk to some famous person. Surely that's the way to do it. And my talk today is going to revolve around the fact that it's not about making a significant change directly. You just need to make these small changes, and over time, if you continue, then you will make this big change. And that's been really, really enlightening for me. And just for a moment, I'd like to thank Maria Lisak actually for giving me the inspiration for this talk, because I listened to her story about weight loss. And my story isn't about weight loss, but it does share a similar theme of social issues. And one of my beliefs is that food is something that shapes us. Food is a part of our lives. I'm sure we're not going to deny that. We wake up in the morning, have breakfast. We go to work. Oh, when is lunchtime? You know? And our interactions with our friends and family normally revolve around these ideas, whether it's going to a restaurant or a coffee shop, or maybe you just are, driving and eating a sandwich, It's something we can't escape. And it's something that I don't believe is wrong, but I do believe that we misinterpret our ideas with food. And personally, I never used to appreciate food as much as I do now, but I have managed to overcome this issue and change some things about myself. So that's what I'm going to discuss with you today. There we go. Okay, so as I said before, I'm from Australia. Alright, now, again, audience poll. Who's been to Australia? Alright, cool. Alright, and did you enjoy the food there? Yep. You can say yes.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Did you ever try a food called parma? Or hear of one? No? Alright, basically it's a chicken schnitzel, or what you might even consider like a donkatsu thing. Do you know? Like a piece of chicken or veal, and they bread it, and they fry it, and they put some cheese and some marinara sauce, and some ham on top. And they have this with French fries and a beer, and it's very, very popular, quintessential Australian pub food. And this was something I used to eat. I didn't really introduce this idea, but I was a meat eater, like full-on meat eater. One time I went to a restaurant and I won a contest for eating 1 kilo of steak in under 30 minutes.
Wow.
That's scary, right? I'm sure it wasn't good for my cholesterol or anything else. And something I learned from this was I felt sick afterwards. And this isn't the way I want to live my life. So I used to go out and I used to have parmas all the time because that was a part of my life. My friends, my family, particularly in university, I subscribed to the idea that I needed to have more. I needed to have more friends. I needed to eat more. And one thing that occurred was when I turned 21, I decided to become a bodybuilder. And although I still follow it now, not as strictly, it was something that stressed the idea, if anyone is familiar with the idea of bodybuilding, you have to eat more, right? You have to lift more weight. You have to get more nutrients from your food. And some diets even subscribe to the idea of wake up in the middle of the night and have a protein shake. So this was something that I used to follow, that I had some success with, but did not ultimately lead me to this idea of making a meaningful contribution. Sure, I bench pressed 160 kilos, but I didn't do anything for society, so it didn't matter. So one of the things that I used to do was follow our typical diet, called the omnivore diet. Meat, vegetables, anything. Or standard American diet. That's what SAD means. And I used to take many supplements. And one of the things I'll show you in a bit is all the supplements I used to take. It will make your head explode. Okay? So I used to eat lots of meat, pasta, pizza, and canned and packaged convenience foods. So examples of this were buying jars of sauce, which you can get like at any supermarket, anywhere. and buying pasta and just having that with some ground beef or some bacon or whatever. And I was like, this is a meal. I get much protein, I'm happy. But as I've learned, there are many things that are in our foods that are not good for us, such as salt and sugar that many people are familiar with. And I also used to be a coffee addict. I can't recall how many, but I used to be very busy. I worked sometimes 40, 45 hours a week, part-time work. I was doing my master's in business. I had a girlfriend at the time that, we were always out seeing friends and everything. And I was also playing drums in 2 bands a week. So I was very busy, and I would call this lifestyle maximalism. I drove a huge car, a Toyota Avalon, which is a large car, like a big Mitsubishi or something, and it uses a lot of petrol, a lot of gas, like up to $100 a week, almost. So I would do this, and I thought this was fine, but eventually I learned that I needed to make some type of change. I'm spending too much money, I'm not enjoying my life, this isn't the way to do. And of course there was lots of frequent eating out and lots of fast food that I used to have. So I was also a gym junkie, 6 days a week at the gym, and $200 a month on personal training. And these kinds of things I've learned aren't necessary to be happy in life. In addition, some of the factors for this are that it's bad for the environment to be eating lots of convenience foods and be driving around all the time, having lots of coffees and that. I did have very lack of consideration for the environment and any social issues that we all have to deal with in the world, such as our water and our consumption of food and clothes and products. So this also attributed to having little savings. I spent my entire pay packet in like 2 weeks, and very little appreciation for the little things. So this was something that I had to change. Okay, now this is what I used to have, alright? This is a product called Lean Thermarix. It's got L-carnitine in it, which is a fat burner. I don't know if this stuff really works, but anyway, I used to take it. This is called a Rimatrol. I used this when I had to get stronger in the gym, and I actually found that it made me really angry all the time, so I stopped taking that. This is called Purple K, which is creatine. If anyone's familiar with creatine, I'm not sure. Basically, it increases the stores of ATP in your muscle, which gives you the energy to lift weights. So I was taking this. And fish oil, which I was told by my trainer, you need this to increase the elasticity of your skin, because when you lift weights and your muscles get bigger, then it gets like flabby, so it doesn't look good. So you need this. And HMB, I was told this would increase my recovery from the gym, because if I'm going 6 days a week, I need recovery. And multivitamin. And these are some foods I used to have. Kangaroo sandwich. Yes, we eat kangaroo in Australia. And I used to just put this on some bread with some lettuce and have that for dinner. And you can see that's quite a huge portion. So that was like a typical food for me. There's the parma I'm talking about. Look, there's some salad there. I'm eating salad. It's fine. Not really. Look at all the french fries, and that's fried. So my point is not that meat is evil or that it's causing all the problems in the world, but my point is that having things like I used to in massive quantities and not thinking about your health and other people's lives can be a bad thing. And my addiction for coffee, Gloria Jean's coffee. So I had a big change occur, and this occurred when I met my wife. She told me she was a part-time vegetarian, And I didn't really care about what a part-time vegetarian does or eats, but I was like, how's that going to affect me? And I learned that part-time vegetarianism, or weekday vegetarianism, as it's coined, is basically eating meat only on weekends. You have to eat vegetarian diet during the week, and then this will make you healthier, better for the environment and other things. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a try, you know, what can I lose? I'll try. And basically this led from a gradual change, small change, from me being a carnivore, eating nothing but meat, to being a part-time vegetarian. And now I can honestly say I am trying to be as vegetarian as possible. But in Korea, there are some challenges, and I will point that out later. And here's some pictures. There's our wedding day. That was in January last year. And there is Namhae last year. And here's the Boreal Mud Festival. As you can see, or you can't really tell, I lost some weight through this. And this is sort of summarizes my transition from being a meat eater. We just moved to Canada at this point, to adopting the part-time vegetarianism and then to being full-on vegetarian. So in order to do this, you do need to have some encouragement. It's very intimidating when you go after any goal to not have the support there. And although I never would expect anyone to leave here today saying, I want to be a vegetarian, I believe everything you say. I just want you to be more open-minded to my ideas and some advice I might be able to give. And basically, just if you have any friends that are vegetarian or want to try, to just be more open-minded and think about, well, oh yeah, it must be hard for them. Like, they can't go to a restaurant and just order the standard thing. They need to ask, I want it without this, I want it without this, I want it without this. No, not that, no. And it can be an issue. But I think that it has been a significant positive change for me personally. And it's not about the vegetarianism itself, but it is the idea that it made me become more aware of everything in my world, like social issues, buying less clothes, and not just using things just because they are there. I used to have many meals where I would just eat them in one night. I would buy 2 kilos of honey soy chicken wings and eat them in one night. Yeah. So it does mean altering your traditions if you want to be a vegetarian or to adopt a different type of diet. For example, you can't just have the turkey at Christmas dinner, or just the typical things like ham and that. You need to think about it. There are lots of alternatives. I'm aware that there are vegetarian meats that you can buy. I haven't tried them, so I'm not sure what they're like. We do occasionally have tofu, and we have lots of vegetables and beans and nuts, and you can make it work for you. I'm against the idea of intimidating people in order to make them vegetarian. Like those people that are like, you must be vegetarian or you will die. Well, why is that going to make me want to change? I'm just going to try and prove you wrong. I'm going to eat more meat than ever before. And that can be an issue. And some people believe that it is extremely wrong and bad for animals. And although there are some problems, I believe, with this, with the way that we produce food, that's not the reason why I changed. And I don't support animal activism and animal rights activism and PETA's type of idea. So people are going to try and label you whenever you make this change. How vegetarian are you? Like, well, how can you define this? You can't define who you are. So I prefer not to try and argue with people about how vegetarian or anything. But these are challenges that you might face. if you decided to make some change in your diet or lifestyle. So there are alternatives to vegetarianism. Many people are familiar with the standard diet, which is basically you eat everything that you want that is available, and often we do buy fruits and vegetables in winter that would not normally be available to us. So things that are not in season. And it's in our culture to eat meat. And since I've moved to Korea, I definitely learned that it's in Korean culture to eat meat. And this is something that I need to understand and other people need to understand as well. And another point about it, it does not restrict. It does not restrict. There are obviously many types of diets and many ways to eat using an omnivore diet, but it doesn't really say you can't eat this, you can't eat that. There is the paleo or caveman diet. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but basically it means that you eat high protein and you should eat lots of vegetables, but very little carbohydrate, which is like from rice and bread and things, and very little fruit. And the point I should make about this is that we actually need carbohydrates for the energy. We actually use the carbohydrates when we exercise to sustain our energy. So this is very important, and I don't follow this. And also, we do actually sometimes need vitamin C in fruits, such as apples and oranges, to absorb the iron that is in the meats and foods that we're eating. So if you're eating like this, personally, it doesn't work for me. So at this point, someone's probably going to point out, well, can you be a meat eater and still be healthy? And absolutely, absolutely. I'm absolutely sure that you can, and I know people that are. This is just the path that I've chosen to take, and it's working for me. There are obviously weekday vegetarians, so they eat meat on weekends. These are other types, lacto-ovo, which means that they can have fish, meat, spam, but they can have eggs and dairy. So they can have eggs and milk and dairy products. Lacto-vegetarians, they can't have any of these things, but they can have like dairy. There are ovo-vegetarians, which can't have fish, meat, spam, or dairy, but they can have eggs. And finally, there are vegans, which is the most strict type of vegetarian that most people are familiar with. No fish, meat, spam, eggs, dairy, or animal products. And this is the diet that we try and follow as closely as possible, but it can be very difficult. There are also raw vegans, which means they can't have food cooked above a certain temperature, which I believe is 40 degrees. And this is having many uncooked, pardon me? Okay. Uncooked foods, or very lightly cooked foods. And many people have a gluten-free allergy. So they can have gluten, which is a protein that is found in wheat and some other grain products. So I've had a lot of success with my changes. It's led to a lot of health outcomes, like I lost a bit of weight. I wake up in the morning and I no longer feel so tired. I used to wake up and have 4 slices of toast and 4 eggs, and maybe a protein shake. And by lunchtime, I was still starving because I wasn't doing things that worked for me. And these days, we wake up and we have something like some apples and some homemade peanut butter, which I've put a sample out for you to try today. And I find that when I have these foods, I'm happier, I have more energy, and I can get more done. So that's very important in a lifestyle at the moment. And also, I have less stress from the foods because I'm happier about what I'm eating, and I'm pretty sure that most of the time it's doing me good. It's led to a better relationship with my wife. Obviously, a meat eater, meaning a part-time vegetarian, was a challenge, and she was very understanding, and I gradually began to understand her way, and it's really improved our relationship, which is a fantastic thing. I have more appreciation for food. Honestly, I used to buy things like chicken and just put barbecue or tomato sauce on top and eat it. But now I'm like, oh, let's put some tomatoes and some onions and some peppers and some mushroom and some chili, and you make a wonderful sauce, and you can really appreciate all the different flavor in there, where it is just one plain sauce. And that is like something that I was never aware of before, because I didn't try it. I'm trying to learn how to cook. I've still got my cooking training wheels on. My wife won't let me in the kitchen alone sometimes, and I understand that, because often men aren't the best cooks, but she's a wonderful cook, and she allows us to live this way. I've also become more creative. As I'll show you, I did make up a few of my own recipes, and I've had some success with that. And ultimately, I've had more empowerment. Like, I'm happy about what I'm doing, and I feel powerful, I feel good. So I am able to achieve more. And I also adopt what is minimalism. I do more with less. I have less food, but I enjoy it more. And these kinds of ideas have led me to getting more out of my food and my life, and I'm very happy for it. So, some reasons why I feel like it's working for me at the moment is doing more with less. You can use your remains from your food to often make a soup. Like, you're cutting up vegetables, you save the peelings, and you can put it in your freezer and then make a soup. And then you don't have to buy soup. And I've become more aware of the environment in this way. So we're buying less packaged things and less things out of packets and things like that, which is really good. And some things I'd like to do in the future are consider slow food movements. There are slow cities and ways of eating food in a slower and more appreciative way that I would like to try. Many people have fair trade products you can get, which is more ethical, better for the people that are making it, and better for the environment in many ways. And I'd also like to look at food production reform. And these are some things that you yourself can look at and see, am I interested in this? Will this be helpful to me? And when I'm able to do this, I have achieved better health and better use of my money. And a reason why this is really good is there is an interconnectedness with our food. What we eat serves to what we will do, and where our food comes from matters. So if we're getting it from a bad place, if it has so many ingredients we don't understand it, that can be a bad thing. So some people might have some concerns. What do we eat? Well, like I said, we usually have fruit with some peanut butter or some almond butter in the morning. We have lots of things like brown rice. I don't know if you're familiar with quinoa. It's a form of protein, and it's very, very healthy for you, very high in protein, and very adaptable to many, many dishes. And I have some examples for you. And we usually just make do with vegetables, and my wife, she's very creative, so she can make many meals from one or two things. How did we make this change? Well, as I said, you just have to start with this small change and keep going. Build more. You know, start with I will not eat so much meat, and then I will eat weekday vegetarian, and then I will and you can do this in anything. Like, you know, if you feel like you do something too much in your life, like work too much or something, you feel like you can just make these small changes and see if it works. We do take a multivitamin because there are certain things you can't get from just vegetables and nuts and that alone. One of these examples is vitamin B12, which you need in order to function well. And we do take a protein after the gym, vegan protein, and there's a lot of variety in our food, but we do have to sometimes listen to our body and like, do I need more? Maybe. This is one of the challenges in Korea. Traveling is a problem sometimes. You do need to pack many snacks and be prepared. If there is nothing for you, you need to be creative and find some way around it. You might just have to drive around for longer or try and translate something into Korean so you can explain, I want this, I want the kimbap without, and then you can find some food. But ultimately, no one is super healthy when they travel. That's why we call it a vacation, you know? So I do find that's something to be aware of. How do we fit in and deal with other people? Obviously, in Gwangju, I don't know many people that are vegetarian, but I do find that people do respect us and understand our choices. You have to be honest with them. Don't try and pretend to be something you're not, and don't try and change people, because those are the people that don't have friends. So that is something that you need to do. Just open-minded and open with other people about who you are and what you like to do. You do need to sometimes get motivation from something. I find that maybe sometimes watching videos or something about health or different types of lifestyles, that I can feel happier about what I'm doing sometimes. And there is a lot of time that you have to devote to eating healthier sometimes. We do find it can be a challenge, but ultimately, just like any challenge, if you work hard, then you get the benefit of, I feel rewarded for working hard, so I've done something. I'm not just going to McDonald's and getting it and someone else made it for me. I don't get appreciation from that. Okay, I do have some negative issues to bring up, but this is merely just to explain that there are some issues with the way we produce our food. This was just an article I found. In the UK Guardian newspaper, in 2010, they reported that food production, particularly meat and seafood, will not be sustainable in the future. So they argue that there are issues with the way that we produce our food, and possibly in the future there may be issues because 70% of our freshwater consumption, 38% of our land, and 19% of our greenhouse gases go to producing our food. And you just need to be aware and try and do what you can to lessen these issues. So, of course, with our increased world population, future water shortage, a lack of land, and increased air pollution, then these may be a problem in the future. But we can control this issue. We can make positive choices and choose to do things like buying whole foods and making our own foods rather than buying things out of the jar. Even if it's easier, just think about, what is this doing for me and for someone else? And am I happy with it? Okay, so it has led to more relaxation for me. I can exercise more because I have all the energy I need from my food. I've achieved more balance because I've introduced more hobbies into my life, but I manage them. And you do have to be aware that there is a time management issue when you are making many of your foods. So, now to make you hungry, I hope you had lunch, because otherwise you're going to feel really bad right now. Okay, these are some foods that we have. Stuffed peppers with quinoa. So quinoa is, as I talked about before, is a very healthy form of protein that you can buy. You can buy it at Home Plus, you can buy it at EMART, but I would highly recommend buying it off iHerb because they have good deal on it. And baked potato with homemade hummus. The hummus, if anyone's tried today, was the light colored dip that we had, and this is something that we get sometimes. This was made with gluten-free pancakes, although we do make them sometimes with a wholemeal flour sometimes. And zucchini pasta. This was something that I was ultimately very, very skeptical about I was like, how can this taste good? But it really does. And one funny thing that happened to me in Australia was my wife took me to a vegetarian restaurant called Veggie Bar, and I had the uncooked spaghetti squash, which was cold and not very tasty to me. And it was in the middle of winter in Australia, which isn't that cold, but it was still cold, and I was like, ugh. Now, then I had the vegan cheesecake, which was amazing. That really blew my mind. But that did put me off becoming vegetarian initially, and trying this food made me appreciate vegetables more, because when you put the sauce on top, it doesn't taste like zucchini at all. And I'm not sure if I spelled this right, I'm sorry if I didn't. Jajangmyeon we made with peanuts on top, and that's just basically vegetables, mushrooms, some brown rice. Not very difficult to make, but very delicious. Spicy wedges. This is avocado, tomatoes, some baked wedges in the oven. This was our Sunday breakfast last Sunday. Whole wheat, cinnamon, raisin, walnut rolls. And that looks like something you could get at a bakery, but tastes way more delicious. A homemade gnocchi. My wife's really proud of this one. She actually grated the potatoes herself and then made them into pasta, which is quite difficult to do. This is what we had today, which is out the front there. Homemade sea crackers, which are pumpkin, sunflower seed, and flaxseed. And you mix it together with some water and you put it in the oven. And very easy to make if you have an oven. I'm sure there's another way to do it, but that's how we do it. And it's really delicious. And this one is beef and quinoa salad. So as I'm showing you, you can do many things with quinoa. It's not just like a rice. Chickpea curry. That's very easy to make. Chocolate chip pancakes. She made a bunny. This was my invention. Potato wedges with tofu and gravy. I was trying to recreate the taste or the idea of like a poutine, and it tasted pretty good. Lentil burger. We did lettuce instead of the bun, which worked out really well. Soy cappuccino. I love making these all the time. Sometimes I do little designs on top like that. And curried tofu and carrot salad. And that's a really delicious one. Quite easy to make again. You just bake the tofu and then you put some curry powder on top, and you have that with some chopped up vegetables. So some ways in which you can make this easier for yourself. We found is buying soy milk, sometimes 1,001 over 100 plus. You can get many of them. Buy off iHerb. A most important thing for me has been making friends with our street vendors, and they give us really good deals. And sometimes we will get like free bananas, and then my wife will like make a banana muffin and give it to the guy, and then he'll give us more free stuff next time. So it's a win-win. And we do buy things in bulk, like massive quantity. So here's some examples of what you can do with your food. If you've got old fruit, you can make a jam, or in fact a fruit bread by mixing it up, putting it with some flour or whatever you need to do. Older tomatoes and onions, you can make a homemade pasta sauce instead of buying it out of a jar. And it might cost you the same amount, but believe me, it's better for you. Chinese dates, protein powder and nuts. You can make date balls, a protein ball, it's a good travel snack. Chickpeas and pepper, that's peppers, like the red, also called capsicum sometimes. And that's how we make our hummus normally. And you can make an oat flour with oatmeal and a food processor. And zucchini and a slicer, you can make zucchini noodles. Very easy. Should buy lots of reusable plastic containers to keep all this food in your house. You can make it easier by getting your friends and family involved. You should get online and look at recipes. My wife spends so much time online looking at vlogs, and she does lots of research before she does anything. And ultimately, this does lead to a lot of creative dishes, which is really good. And you should cook food that can be eaten over a couple of days to maximize the benefits of this. Ultimately, you can forgive yourself. It's hard, and there is a cultural barrier, particularly if you don't speak much Korean or wherever you are in the world. There can be issues with this, so just give yourself a break. You do need to do what motivates you. You need to do what makes you happy. You need to have in your mind, what do I want out of my life? And as I said before, I didn't know what I wanted out of my life, but I'm slowly beginning to find that the transition to this lifestyle has been working for me. And although I don't know if it's going to work for me forever, it's working for me right now, and I'm very, very happy. Ultimately, I learned that happiness is a decision that you make. You choose to be happy. It's not about having more stuff, more iPhones, more products, or more clothes. You can just be happy with what you're doing. And don't try and change people. Don't try and just change yourself because you feel scared. And ultimately, you do need to just find a small change and keep going. And over time, you will hopefully find some idea that really works for you, and then you could be more happy with your life. And that is something I strive to do, that I believe that I have achieved. And ultimately, you do what you can to help yourself. So find what works for you, and if it's working for you, keep doing it. If it's not working for you, don't do it. Don't just follow one type of diet or this or that. Do what makes you happy. And you can make a big difference in your life and in other people's lives. And food is something that we have to deal with every day. So it can be a message for us. So let's make our food give the message that's a positive and productive one, not the other way around. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time today.